I think we'll get started here. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining today. Welcome to Slow the Flow and Speed Up Savings, a green economy webinar event offered by partners in Project Green with the Toronto and Region Conservation Authority. My name is Anna Courier, and I'm the Water Stewardship Coordinator with Partners in Project Green. And thank you so much for joining us today. You can submit questions at any time using the Q&A feature on your control panel. You can submit tech issues or general event questions through the chat feature. The recording, slides, and additional information will be shared with you after the webinar. So while we meet today on a virtual platform, I would like to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we each call home. The TRCA is situated on the traditional territories and treaty lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, as well as the Anishinaabe of the Williams Treaty First Nations, the Huron-Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Métis Nation. As stewards of land and water resources within the Greater Toronto Region, the TRCA takes this responsibility very seriously. Now, on a personal note, for the better part of the last decade, I lived in Peterborough, Ontario, or Nogo-Jimanoong in Anishinaabe, which is located on Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and home of Mississauga and Chippewa nations. The Otonabee River in Peterborough, called Audanabe, means river that beats like a heart, and it is a river that supplies the city with its drinking water. Now, I'd like to draw a connection between today's topic of water conservation with the First Nation teaching that water is sacred and something that we must protect and conserve for future generations. It is also a reality that many First Nation communities do not have access to clean drinking water. Now, if you're interested in learning more and donating to organizations addressing this issue, you can check out the links on this slide or in the chat. We need water for survival, and we need it to continue manufacturing and producing the goods that we rely on. So it's businesses like our presenters today that are demonstrating that they take this responsibility very seriously. I encourage you to use the resources up on the screen and in the chat to learn more about the lands you live, work, and play on, and to reflect on your relationship with those lands. Okay, so our agenda this afternoon looks as follows. We'll provide a couple Partners in Project Green updates, and then we'll hear our first case study presentation from Longos, followed by a Q&A. We will then hear our second case study presentation from Arla Foods, followed by a Q&A. And then we'll close with a review of municipal water efficiency programs for businesses. Okay. So a few PPG updates here. PPG is running a program called GreenBiz Caledon in partnership with the town of Caledon. Now, relevant to businesses of any size, GreenBiz is geared to small to medium businesses and involves a resource hub and workshop series on a number of sustainability topics, including water efficiency. You can learn more by following the link on the slide or in the chat. Now, next up, since water efficiency is intrinsically connected to energy efficiency, we thought we'd take this opportunity to mention that PPG's Energy Leaders Consortium is always accepting new members. PPG's consortiums act as best practice networks for sustainability professionals to strategize solutions to common challenges. And you can learn more by following the link on this slide or in the chat. Okay, so it is now my great pleasure to introduce our first water efficiency case study presenters from Longos, Zachary Morgan and Danielle Reed. All right, Zachary Morgan, thanks for joining us. Zach Morgan is the facilities manager at Longos, where he has facility operational oversight for 36 plus grocery stores, 2 distribution centers, 1 production food plant, and 1 head office complex. Further to managing day-to-day operations, Zach loves to explore new opportunities that can better improve building efficiencies, and as a result, has led and implemented several sustainability projects which have lowered Longo's carbon footprint. Projects include solar generation, refrigerant conversions, EV charger installations, LED lighting retrofits, and more. And prior to Longo's, Zach graduated with a global management degree from the Toronto Metropolitan University. Danielle Reid. Danielle is the sustainability specialist at Longo's, where her role focuses on sustainability reporting, waste reduction and diversion, and responsible sourcing. Her love of food and disdain of waste have led her to a career devoted to tackling the sustainability challenges in the food industry. And prior to Longo's, Danielle graduated with a Master of Science in Sustainability Management from the University of Toronto.
Hi, everybody. Zach and I are really excited to be here today to talk to you all about some work that we did in water efficiency. And hopefully some of the learnings will be helpful for you all as you look to do the same in your organizations. So before we start, we just wanted to talk a little bit about our approach to sustainability and how we integrate this in our business. So at Longo's, our purpose is all about fueling happier and healthier lives. We have a mission to be the most trusted and relied upon food partner. And we really see sustainability as being an integral way for how we execute on both of these. So we have a 3-pillared strategy that guides the work that we do in sustainability. And pillar 1 is environmental stewardship. And this is really focused on reducing the environmental impact of our operations. So specifically, we look at reducing our scope 1 and 2 greenhouse gas emissions, being more efficient with how we manage water and energy. And also we look to reduce waste in all aspects of the business with specific focuses on food waste and plastic waste. Pillar 2 is responsible sourcing, and this is specific to the products that we carry in our stores and how they're produced and the supply chains that bring them to us. So within here, we focus on reducing our scope 3 emissions in our supply chain. We focus on ethical sourcing, which we practice by sourcing products locally wherever possible, reducing environmental impacts in our product supply chains by focusing on deforestation specifically. And we also have a focus on increasing the amount of fair trade products that we have in our assortment. And then pillar 3 is healthy, happy people. And really this is all about kind of putting people at the center of our decision making and focusing on improving their experience with us. So specifically what we do here is we're focused on investing in our good job strategy for our team members, improving health and safety and our DE&I work, and also investing in our communities with a specific focus on food aid and food security. So that's a little bit about the work that we do in this space, and I'm going to pass it over to Zach, who will walk you through some of our work in water efficiency and the project that he led here.
Awesome, thanks Danielle, and thanks Anna for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Zach Morgan. I'm the facilities manager here at Longo's. So I'd like to just kind of get started and just kind of provide some context of exactly what Longo's is. So we operate 36 grocery stores, generally within the GTA. Our stores range between 5,000 square feet to 50,000 square feet, just to provide some context of size. I mean, we've got multiple departments within each location and multiple uses of water. Further to our 36 grocery stores, we also do operate 2 distribution centers, one of it being our e-commerce business, Grocery Gateway. We also have a food production plant, which is about 10,000 square feet, and a head office complex. So in exploring kind of our water savings opportunities, it encompasses all facilities and locations. So just to kind of provide a little bit more context of just geographic location, we're pretty much in the GTA. So we go as far west as Hamilton and Guelph, and as far east as Ajax, and pretty much everything in between. So just kind of moving on. So what started this whole, I guess, water savings opportunity was we were introduced to, I guess, a couple water audits through Partners in Project Green in partnership with York Region. And we decided to pilot 4 locations, 4 grocery stores, where we would go through a water audit. So there was a lot of valuable information that we got out of these audits. So it's basically what we got was we saw where we were using water. So just looking at the pie graph on the left side. So it kind of broke down our water use and where we were using it at a typical grocery store. The next was, I guess, kind of like a profile of our daily water use. So it's more when we were using water. So in a typical grocery store, we obviously use water throughout the day, and we're closed at night. So consumption should come down. And I guess the audit just kind of helps verify that. I guess the most importantly was identifying opportunities. So in conducting these water audits, there was a bunch of recommendations that were put forth to us to see where we can save water. And so just taking an example from our water audit was changing spray valve. So in a typical grocery store, we have quite a few spray valves, which we use to wash down our meat cutting rooms, our veg prep rooms. We also use it to mist some of our vegetables. So something as simple as changing a spray valve results in savings. And what these water audits helped identify was put I guess numbers to it and quantify it. So just for illustrative purposes, here's a couple examples of some of the devices we've implemented and installed. So on your far left is just kind of like a typical spray nozzle that we use to wash dishes and plates and trays and things like that. So we were using something that had about 4.7 liters per minute of I guess water consumption, and so we retrofitted those to a lower flow. So we're looking at 3.8 liters per minute now. We also changed all of our spray valves at most of our stores, which I mentioned before is used to kind of wash down different departments and rooms. And so you can see there, we went from 5.2 liters per minute down to 4.0 liters per minute. That's just a couple examples of some of the things we've implemented. We've also changed quite a few faucets, aerators, urinals, toilets. So we changed quite a few devices. They range in different savings depending on the age of the store. So some of our older stores, there was a bigger opportunity versus some of our newer stores were built a little bit more efficient. So the opportunity wasn't as great. Another thing that I think that kind of really helped us throughout this whole program was the use of technology. And specifically, what I mean by that is we actually installed this device here on the right, which is called a Flowy device, at almost all of our locations. And essentially what that device does, it gives us, it wraps around our water meter, and it gives us real-time data and usage and consumption of water. So the benefits there is, well, what I mentioned is it does provide real-time water usage. So it does have a portal. So just looking at the graph on the left, it illustrates our real-time consumption at every location. Further to this is it helped us verify our water saving measures. So when we implemented and installed these spray valves and changed toilets, historically, the only way to verify that what you're installing is actually saving is to see it on your water bill. We typically don't see our water bills for a month or two after the fact, and especially when some of the savings are kind of small, like within the 10% range, it's really hard to verify those savings. So having this Flowy device installed, it gave us that real-time data, and it just helped us verify our savings. Another benefit is budgeting. So typically and historically, we've budgeted based off of historical usage, but now having this data and this real time consumption, we're able to actually accurately budget for our water usage at our stores. And I think the biggest benefit, and at least in my opinion, is leak detection. So again, because we're monitoring our water consumption real time, these devices are actually able to identify any ongoing leaks. And one thing that I think kind of came as a surprise to us was there are tons of opportunities for leaks, especially at a grocery store. There's a lot of water using devices, and having this device installed gave us that notification right away that there is something that's leaking. So yeah, so just to kind of summarize what we've learned throughout this whole program is so water audits. There's a lot of valuable information. Now, I think I only scratched the surface on it, but these water audits, they're about 30 to 40 pages long, and there's a lot of valuable information. It kind of goes back to it kind of illustrates to us when we use water, how we use water, where we use water, and what opportunities there are to save on water. Implementing these water savings devices, there was also multiple benefits as well. Being a facilities manager, it helped us kind of reduce our maintenance costs. There was also obviously the dollar savings that we saw. So typically we install, I guess, water saving devices with like an attractive payback. So generally we look for 2 years or less. And in some cases, some of the paybacks were a couple months. So it was kind of a no-brainer to install these devices. The other thing is that there's measurable savings. So numbers don't lie. Overall, depending on the store and the age of the store, we've seen between 10 and 35% on our water savings, and that's been verified on the Flowy devices and that portal, and also on our water bills. So it's nice to see that what we're implementing and making some of these changes, we're actually able to measure those savings. Just another thing was, so back to those Flowy devices, is ongoing monitoring. So we like to use a lot of this data to help support future projects. So whenever we go through a store renovation, it helps us decide or not whether it makes sense to upgrade some of these water devices. So using data, it has helped push a lot of these projects forward as well. External recognition. So this kind of helps maybe more from like a senior management perspective. So being recognized for what we've been able to do so far, it definitely helps. It's nice to see that, like, hey, everything that we've done so far and being recognized for it is it kind of promotes kind of like further projects. So yeah, no, it's been great, and thanks to Partners in Project Green for the nomination there. And last but not least, and I mentioned it before, but leak detection. So to me, this was probably the biggest surprise when we first started this program. We went into it thinking, okay, well, we'll change a couple devices and we'll see some savings. But ever since installing these Flowy devices, now that we have real-time monitoring on all of our stores, we've actually identified 7 locations that had ongoing leaks. Some of these leaks range from like 5 liters per minute to 50 liters per minute. So it's quite a lot. I guess more of on an extreme side, in our food production plant, we actually had an ongoing leak for 3 years. And we didn't know about it until we installed these devices. And essentially what that leak was so we've got a trap primer system, which I guess primes our drains for smell. But it's one of those things where you don't see it, you don't hear it. we always just pay our water bills. We're like, okay, that's our normal consumption. And it wasn't until we installed that device that we saw that there was constant running water. And so, I mean, that was huge for us. So it's since been, I guess, repaired, but leak detection has kind of been a big surprise for us. We always thought that if there's a leak somewhere, you'll see it, or someone will hear it. But what we found is that that's not always the case. So I guess, yeah, just to wrap it up, I think I'm coming close to time. I guess I'll open it up to any questions that anyone may have.
Thank you so much, Zach. That was excellent. Yeah, really appreciate that. All right, so we do have quite a few questions here for you. I will start with, so have you looked into gray water recycling at Longo's?
We have not, no. We have not.
Okay, cool. We've already done a ton of work already, so one step at a time.
Yeah.
For sure. Thanks for that question. All right, so yes, very interesting. A lot of people are interested in these flowy devices. Just wondering where you can get one and how much they cost.
Yeah, so there's the company is called Alert Labs. So they actually manufacture, I think they're based out of Waterloo, so that they are local. But yeah, so the company is called Alert Labs, and they make a few different devices, and Flowy being one of them. And the cost is between, I think it was about $900 to $1,000 each. And then there's also the subscription fee for kind of like the ongoing monitoring and access to the portal.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. So did you only use Flowy sensors, or did you use temporary local metering to build your water use profile?
Yeah, so when we first conducted these water audits, there was some temporary meters installed. And actually, we actually got introduced to these Flowy devices when we were going through these water audits. So essentially, that's the device that they use to actually monitor water consumption and to build those profiles. So as soon as we saw that, we're like, oh, what is this? What is this device? Can we purchase this? And a year later, we purchased quite a few of them.
Great. All right. Thank you. So do you have an API to integrate the devices to external platforms? Someone has mentioned that theirs is EM Connect.
No, so we don't. So we just utilize their portal.
Okay. Great. Thank you. So is Longo's looking to reduce the embedded water in your products that are sold in the store? It's an interesting question.
That is a good, maybe Danielle, maybe I'll defer that to you.
We haven't looked into that. Right now we're focused more on looking at like carbon emissions from our suppliers and how those products are being sourced. But I mean, I think it's definitely something that we should be looking into once we have like we're further along with our work with emissions.
Okay, thank you. So just another question on the Flowies here. Do the Flowies feed into a program that tracks and analyzes your water use, and how many do you need per store?
So you basically need one device per meter. So if you have a central meter at your store or at your facility, then you only need one device. Sorry, the first part of that question was, does it?
So do the Flowies feed into a program that tracks and analyzes your water use? And I think you had spoken about that.
Yeah. So it does. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And just overall, how much did you spend on water saving projects, and how much did you save?
So it is kind of an ongoing program. So I don't have the total dollar amount because we're actually still going through it right now. With we actually just had a couple water audits completed within the city of Toronto. So we're in the process of actually implementing some more devices there. But overall, I think our total cost has been, I mean, we've implemented this already at 25 plus locations. And just to give you a ballpark number, I think it was between like $60,000 and $70,000 of kind of our capital costs. And then our payback has been under 2 years.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. And just a question related to your experience working with York Region. How did you work with York Region for the water audits, and did that come at a cost to you?
No, so the water audits were actually completely free, which was great, which was kind of an easy decision to make. When we first connected with York Region, they actually came to our site themselves with one of the I guess the auditors that actually conducted the audit. I'm not sure if at the time we were one of the first grocery stores to do this, but York Region seemed to be pretty excited with conducting these audits, because I know there would be a lot of valuable information. It goes to show kind of like where we're consuming water and how we can save. So the experience has been great with York Region, just to kind of have that buy-in, but also the excitement from their end as well.
Absolutely, thank you. Yeah, and we're going to hear a little bit more about York Regions and the other municipal programs later on in the session. Okay, we have time just for one more question here. So were there any rebates available from any of the municipalities for the water upgrades?
Yeah, so just for the York Region, there was some rebates and incentives. So and this is actually kind of what helped us too, is because part of the rebate program was you needed to verify your savings, right? So it was really easy to do with those FOE devices, just because we had the data. It was there. So sometimes it's what we were finding before was without these devices, it's hard to verify on a water bill. Like if you're only saving 10 to 20%, that could be just kind of an operational change. Maybe we're watering more plants or we're washing a little bit more. So it's or less, I should say. So it was hard to verify before these devices, but ever since installing them, it's been a great tool for us.
That's great. Well, thank you so much. That was an excellent question and answer period. So I'm just going to switch gears now over to our second presenter. Thank you so much, Zach and Danielle. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Anna.
There's a link in the chat there to your sustainability page. Okay, so I am now delighted to introduce our second water efficiency case study presenter, Edward Iljazi from Arla Foods. Now, Edward is a chemical engineer with 6 years of experience in the food and pharmaceutical industries. Edward has partaken in several projects related to building automation, process sustainability, wastewater treatment, design of clean steam systems, RODI water, purified water, and water for injection systems. Furthermore, Edward has also worked on the design and implementation of pharmaceutical wastewater treatment facilities to ensure compliance with municipal requirements. Edward continually focuses on increasing sustainability through water conservation and recirculation, and finding alternative solutions to lower overall plant CO2 emissions. Throughout his career, he intends to do his best in lowering carbon footprints as much as possible. Okay, I'm going to stop my screen share and you can go ahead, Edward.
Okay, well, hey everyone. Like Anna mentioned, my name is Edward Iljazi and I am currently working as a project engineer for Arla Foods. I would like to start off by talking a little bit about Arla Foods, that is who we are, what we do, and what our general vision is towards the approach for sustainability. So Arla is a Danish dairy manufacturer where we essentially produce, package, and distribute cheese, which means we use quite a lot of milk throughout the year. We are also one of the top dairy manufacturers in the world, and also a cooperative, which means we are owned mostly by dairy farmers. And for us, this is very important because our journey towards a more sustainable future doesn't just necessarily begin at the processing plant, but right at the beginning, step one, which is at the farm. Here in Canada, however, we are operating under 3 main brands, namely that is Arla, Trestel, and Castello. As you can see, our operations are spanning across the whole world, with a big presence in mostly Europe and the Middle East. So here at Arla, we have what we call the Future 26 strategy. So this strategy aims at rethinking our global food systems to pretty much address climate change and biodiversity. Because as I'm sure we all know, that dairy unfortunately does have a quite significant impact on CO2 emissions. And we do understand that we do bear a responsibility to ensure that we do as much as we can to lower these emissions and create a more sustainable future. And our vision for this strategy is creating the future of dairy to bring health and inspiration to the world naturally. And key emphasis on naturally, because we understand that by naturally, that this can only be achieved throughout sustainable methods. And in order to promote this strategy, we have 4 main pillars. I can see right there. We have the lead sustainable dairy, scale to growth, building growth platforms, and collaborate for efficiencies. So today I'll focus more on the first pillar that we have, the lead sustainable dairy. So for this one, we all know, and I'm sure we all have heard that climate change is a pretty big challenge that we are facing, and it's a very difficult challenge for us and during these times. And like I mentioned before, the changing global food systems is very important for sustainability. For example, our customers and our consumers are actually one of the first ones taking action for more sustainable options. And I can see that myself, personally, when I go to the grocery store, right, I'm looking at products, and it does truly impact my buying decision on whether a certain product's packaging for example, comes from a recyclable source or is easily recyclable. And for this pillar, we focus on 4 main points that will help us accomplish it. Point number 1 being reducing carbon emissions through more efficient and newer technologies. And I will go into this a little bit more throughout the slides. Point number 2 is by improving our supply chain. So this is done through energy optimization and just overall introducing more green energy to the warehouses. For example, an initiative we've had is by using more battery-powered equipment. Point number 3 is through circular packaging. So I kind of talked about this a little bit, and that is through either, if we can, which would be optimal, to completely remove plastic use, or at the minimum, we are looking to find better plastic material that is just easier to recycle. And the last point, which is what we are kind of referring to as commercialized sustainability, which that means that essentially we are using our products to showcase to our customers that the efforts that we are taking to create this more sustainable future. All right, so now in terms of more specifically with respect to the processing plant, we are looking at a few things. One of the main things that we're looking at is increasing our water reuse throughout the plant. So how we do this is by looking at equipment that, for example, require hot water, where we would supply hot water to, let's say, primary equipment. And then once the processing of that equipment is done, we would take that hot water and supply to a secondary equipment to preheat it. By doing this, what we are achieving is that we are lowering the total energy costs, but also we are reusing that water. And this can go to a third equipment if needed, or vice versa. We can use the same kind of methodology for cold water. And this creates, like I mentioned before, this creates a lot more energy savings, and it does help out a lot throughout the plant operation. Another area that we are focusing on is finding areas during production where we might either eliminate water usage or lower it as much as possible. One of those instances is where we have switched from water-cooled equipment to air-cooled equipment, and obviously, we've saved a lot of water just because we simply do not use water anymore for those equipment. Another area is by having more efficient, what we call clean-in-place or CIP systems. So with new emerging technologies, CIP systems have become better overall, and by better, that means that they use less water, less time. They use environmentally friendly cleaning agents or use less cleaning agents overall. So this whole newer technology and this whole system has led us to use less water and kind of reduce that CO2 footprint. And overall, finding just more efficient ways throughout the plant by working with team members, working with contractors, with consultants, everyone providing their feedback does truly help and create a better environment for us to have that sustainability first approach. Okay, so as you can see there, we have had several projects, this year and in the past years as well, where we have looked to improve them based on the above criteria that I mentioned on the previous slide. And overall, from all the projects that we've done so far, we are looking at about almost 30,000 meter cubed of a year of water savings, which has been pretty significant for us. This has led to also about $5,000 a year in natural gas savings, about $137,000 in cleaning agents that we've been able to save. And overall, we have reduced about 47.5, so about 48 tons per year of greenhouse gases. So what we work closely with a few of our main partners is York Region Enviro Stewards and the Toronto Region and Conservation Authority. And they've really helped us out, on a lot of things, and they do provide support even for our projects. So with Enviro Stewards, what we've relied upon them is they have provided us with water balance study for our plant. They have also provided us with knowledge and expertise of programs that perhaps other manufacturers have used, and we have been able to integrate that into our plant. They've also provided us with, outside eyes looking at the process, because sometimes when we work day in and day out with the same process, we tend to overlook and we tend to not see some things that could be, could be there and we just do not see them. Another point is that they do provide assistance with saving calculations, and they do provide us with reports and recommendations that we use to build on, and we rely and we build our funding for our projects based on these reports. And overall, all these points do help us save water. And also with TRCA, with partners in Project Green, they have supported us with knowledge of the York Region funding programs and what we would require for our application procedures. They've also helped us out a lot with support with sustainability programs for both water and energy conservation, because those two are very important for us. And they've also provided sessions to gain more knowledge from different corporations, like I mentioned before, seeing what others have done and implementing that in our plant. So all of this in order to increase sustainability and kind of hit home that idea of our Future 26 strategy. All right, so overall, what we have been looking at Arla in the past couple of years, by kind of putting all these initiatives together, having that Future 26 strategy in mind, and always thinking about sustainability, we've been able to achieve by reducing about 37,000 meter cubes per year of water, which has led us to a total cost saving of almost $185,000. And we've hit a payback period of less than 6 months, which has been pretty impressive for us. And throughout this whole journey, I guess we have increased our knowledge of sustainability solutions in the industry, and it has also paid back to us because it has been a financial incentive for us to do this. So not just for the planet, obviously, but also for business continuity. And that's it. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for that, Edward. Yeah, wonderful presentation. Okay, we do have some questions coming in now. All right, first one here. Are you using water waste heat recovery technologies? And would you be interested in new approaches to this opportunity?
Yeah. Like I mentioned before, we do use a lot of heat water recovery in our processing plants, and we use that in conjunction with the products. We have some product that is required to have a higher temperature, about 80 degrees Celsius, and we use the heat recovery from that for our CIP systems, because we do for CIP, for our cleaning agents, the water does require to have a temperature of just above 60 degrees Celsius. So we use the heat recovery from that for our CIP systems. So yeah, definitely I'd be interested if there's any other newer approaches, for sure.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, another one here. So how do you engage your employees in the process and get feedback from them on how to reduce water or energy use?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what we do is we do internal audits. We have meetings with our production supervisors, and we do walkthroughs of the plant, and we see where maybe there's areas that we can reduce water. One example, like I mentioned right now, is that we have water taps that we use to cool some of our products, and sometimes we tend to forget to turn them off, and that's definitely water savings that we can use. So what we've implemented there with the team, we've decided to install sensors or automatic shutoff valves. So after a certain period of time, if for whatever reason, human error, we forgot to turn them off, they'll automatically turn off, and that way we would save a lot more water.
Okay, thank you. And just wondering, what projects that you might have planned next? Any one big project?
We do have several projects. We have one pretty big project in terms of water savings, where we have what we call a cooling tunnel for our bocconcini and mozzarella balls. We do use a lot of water for that, and a lot of that water does get sent to drain. So what we're looking at is building a water collection tank for that line and for some other lines, and kind of piping it all into that one main collection tank. And after that, we can find ways where we can use that water, maybe for gray water or anything else that we might have a need for.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. Just on the topic of collecting water and gray water, understanding that this session is focused on water efficiency, have you looked at, or do you plan on looking at stormwater management on site at all?
No, not that I'm aware of, but I definitely would be open to any possibility. If there's an option there to figure out some way or some function that we can save that, yeah, for sure.
Okay, great. And then just another one here. So do you work with your local farmers on water efficiency, perhaps in irrigation methods, just to demonstrate a holistic approach to water efficiency?
Yeah, we do work closely, not here in Canada because our dairy farmers are in Denmark, but Arla in Denmark, 100%. They work very closely with the farmers. And like I said, we're half owned by dairy farmers in Denmark. So they have a huge say in what we do and their technology that we use.
Now, if you were going to give advice to an organization that was just starting out, what would you say the first steps to improve water efficiency would be?
Good question. I think the first step would be plant layout and organization. A lot of the times, there's a lot of loss that happens just by the way equipment is laid out in the plant, just getting the water there, losing heat through that, and losing the water just from the facility point of view. So I think the main point that I would say is just looking at the equipment, looking where it's laid out, looking how the process overall is structured, and always having that sustainability first aspect in mind whenever you're designing a new equipment or whenever you're purchasing new equipment.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we just have one question here. Sure. If you were going to give advice to an organization that was just starting out, what would you say the first steps to improve water efficiency would be?
Is it very similar to the last question, or?
Yeah.
It's almost identical. Okay. I guess the same thing. I would say, just make sure that whichever process you're working on, you do a water balance. You make sure that that it has a potential in the future to be optimized, and not something that it will be very, very difficult to optimize. So to add more to that point is, for example, having manual systems in place. Prior at Arla especially, we did have a lot of manual systems in place, but what we did is we looked at having more automation involved, so adding automatic valves and stuff like that. So that's a huge component of it.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, thank you. We actually just have one more that came in. We've got a couple minutes, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
just a
sure.
question about, so we've talked about employee engagement, but what about senior leadership buy-in for these projects? Do you have any strategies for obtaining senior leadership buy-in?
Yeah. Well, we're very fortunate because our senior leadership, like they've told us, anything that has sustainability in projects, very high chance will get approved. So for us, as long as we have projects that do conserve water, that we do save water, we do save energy, they're the first ones that are going to accept it and push it forward. Again, like I mentioned, the Future 26 strategy does come from our head corporate. So they are very, very interested in this. It is something that also the consumers want as well, and yeah, we have no issues at all.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time, Edward.
Thanks.
That's great. All right, yeah, we just have a link here to learn more about Arla Foods in the chat. Thank you for that. Okay, well, thank you so much to both of our presenters for taking the time today. Thought they were really well-rounded presentations, and the recording will be distributed, but if you have any further questions for our panelists, you can feel free to connect with Partners in Project Green, and we'll make sure that we direct you accordingly. Okay, so I'm just going to end this session with some information on water efficiency programs offered by our municipal partners in the Greater Toronto Area. And I want to just give a really big thank you to our municipal partners, York Region, the City of Toronto, and the Region of Peel for taking the time to put together slides on their programs for this session. And if you have any questions regarding these programs, you can feel free to submit them in the chat or email me, and I will ensure that they are directed to the appropriate person to answer them. We will also be providing links to these programs and some contact information you can use as well. All right, so starting with York Region. So York Region offers a variety of financial incentives for businesses participating in water protection and efficiency programs. The programs are offered to owners and managers of industrial, commercial, or institutional facilities located in York Region. The ICI Capacity Buyback Program is targeted for high water use businesses in York Region. Participating businesses will receive a water use profile of the facility, customized recommendations of potential water saving and water reuse opportunities, information to help develop a business case for replacements or upgrades, wastewater quality improvement plan, if applicable, and access to an incentive of up to $50,000 based on installed eligible retrofits. And the incentive is calculated based on 75 cents per liter of water saved in a single average day through water saving retrofits, $2 per liter of water saved in a single average day through water reuse retrofits, and $200 per meter to a maximum of 5 meters or $1,000 to have sub-meters installed permanently at the facility when recommended. The Water Efficiency Equipment Replacement Program is available for all businesses that replace their inefficient equipment with new water efficient equipment. Now, this applies to all kinds of things like shower heads, toilets, spray valves, ice machines, sub-metering, and more. Once the retrofit is complete, the region requires pre and post installation photos, specifications of the equipment, and a copy of the invoices or invoice. So you can contact Jeff Flewelling or Heather McNabb or the general inbox address. And this contact information, as well as a link to their program information, is on this slide and in the chat. All right, now programs. I'm just switching over to City of Toronto here. Okay, so programs are open to facilities located within the City of Toronto, postal code starting with M. The capacity buyback program is available to commercial and institutional water customers. Now, what is provided? So a free water audit on site and a comprehensive water audit report with recommendations for water efficiency projects. A cash incentive is available for eligible water efficiency projects, excluding domestic fixtures. The industrial water rate program is available to eligible facilities under the industrial or mixed industrial commercial tax class. You can contact the city for an eligibility assessment, and the email is on the slide and also in the chat. Now, the sewer surcharge rebate program is available to eligible industrial and commercial water customers. So businesses diverting from the municipal treatment system can receive a rebate of sewer fees. For example, water in products, evaporation from cooling towers. Thank you so much, City of Toronto, for providing that information. Okay, now the region of Peel. So the region is currently working on updating its water efficiency programs for businesses within Peel, and they are in the process of updating their website with resources and relevant programs related to water efficiency. The goal is to provide personalized support to help businesses achieve their water saving goals related to indoor usage. A new and improved program is coming soon in 2022. And eligible businesses can receive a subsidized audit with a consultant to identify their water saving opportunities. The eligibility will be determined through a screening process. Now, to be added to a wait list to receive more information once available, please email Faria Ahmed at the Region of Peel, and their contact information is on the slide and in the chat. And the Region of Peel does also offer outdoor water usage irrigation programs, which you can find out more about on their website as well. Okay, again, thank you so much to our municipal partners for providing that information on their programs, and to our presenters that help to demonstrate these water efficiency projects in action and how you can take advantage of these excellent programs available. Yeah, thank you very much to everyone for joining this session. If you have any questions for our panelists or our municipal partners about their programs, as I mentioned, there should be contact information and links to their programs, but you can always contact us and we will direct you.